Thank you. So welcome to the hybrid meeting of the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee. Can I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself? Can I also please ask members to be mindful that microphones, when switched on, are sensitive and may broadcast other conversations being held in the facility. So we have an apology this evening from Councillor Donnelly. If anyone has anyone else from the floor? Councillor Evans.
Just an apology from Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you. And Councillor O'Dowd.
Thanks, Chair. Apology for Councillor Jude Mallon.
Lovely, thank you. And we now have a presentation from Women's Aid. Sorry. You remind me of that one. We have agenda item 2, declarations of interest. I'm happy to take them as we move along, but we have one from the Chief Executive here first. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, non-pecuniary declaration of interest for item 13.2 on the agenda later on.
Thank you. So, members, we now have Women's Aid, and we have Helen and Eileen with us. As you know, this is one of our Lord Mayor's charities, so it's something that we've had at the back of our minds, or to the fore of our work this year. So you're very welcome, and thank you for your presentation, and we'll have questions and all after. Thank you.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Do I need to lean in or not? Great there. My name is Helen Cranny. I work for Women's Aid Armagh down, and this is our CEO, Eileen Murphy. Firstly, we'd like to thank the Council for inviting us along to be able to speak to the committee tonight, and we have 10 minutes. We hope to give you a bit of an overview of the work that we do in the locality of ABC and Newry and Down as well, and then we have 10 minutes for questions. So Women's Aid Armagh Down are the lead agency responding to the need for specialised support to women, children and young people who experience domestic and sexual violence and abuse and the wider spectrum of violence against women and girls. We cover Newry and Down and Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon Council, and we've been operating for 40 plus years at this point in time. So we bring a rich history of the voices of women and children, and unfortunately the experiences they experience today in 2025 are barely different from the experiences that they experienced when we opened our doors in 1983. So our work in context is, in terms of the statistics that are available, they're usually coming through the PSNI. So the domestic and sexual abuse accounts for 20% of overall crime in Northern Ireland, and that's on an ongoing basis for domestic and sexual abuse. In the reporting year 23-24, there were over 32,000 domestic abuse incidents in Northern Ireland, and within the WAD area, so that's Newry and Down and ABC, WAD stands for Women's Aid Armagh Down, there were just under 6,500 domestic abuse incidents. Sadly, the area that we work in is the second highest, has the second highest number of incidents in that's a correction, I should have had ABC area in there, unfortunately not Newry and Down. So it is a figure that we have spoke to your Chief Executive and your Mayor about a number of times, that it is a sad statistic that ABC sits at the highest rate of domestic abuse incidences outside of Belfast and Lisburn. On average, the PSNI will receive a call relating to domestic and sexual abuse every 16 minutes of every day. There have been 25 murders on the island of Ireland since 2020 of female victims, and 3 tragically within the ABC area in the last 3 years. A woman in Northern Ireland is twice as likely to be murdered as a result of domestic violence than in any other nation in the United Kingdom. And that is the sad reality that we work with every day.
I just say it.
Yeah.
Just to highlight the point, so Women's Aid Armagh Down operate across the 2 council areas, but the ABC area on its own is the second highest. It makes our group work with the second highest, but that is down to the ABC area. It sits on its own. Belfast is the highest across Northern Ireland. Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon is the second highest. Newry and Down actually comes in as 4th, but because of the high level of violence and abuse in the ABC area, it puts us up to 2nd. So it's a really significant issue for this area. Sorry.
You're okay, thank you, Eileen. In terms of the provision of service that we provide, we have one 11-bed refuge that covers the entire of the area that we service, and it is within the Newry and Down council area. It has 11 bedrooms in it and a total of 25 bed spaces. So women don't share bedrooms with each other. So that's 11 families, 11 women and their children that we can accommodate at any one time. We have about a 97% occupancy rate for refuge, so we are never empty. We carry a waiting list all of the time, so the minute that we know that one woman is moving out of refuge, hopefully into safe accommodation for her, we are straight on the phone to those women on the waiting list to see who is at most risk, so who gets that room next.
And can I just say, yeah, on Monday we had a drop-in at the Newry Centre for a woman from the ABC area looking for refuge. Our refuge was full. The only refuge that we could offer her women was Belfast, and that woman returned home where the abuse is occurring rather than go to a Belfast refuge. So we have a lot of that where women are staying in very dangerous situations solely because the refuge is full.
And that'll also be because her entire network that she has that's available left to her is here in the locality. It's not that she doesn't want to go to Belfast, it's that any safety network she has is here. We have 3 resource centres that we operate. We have one in Newry, we have an outreach centre within the council buildings in Armagh, and we have an office in Portadown. As that's a centre where we work with women who live in their own homes still, but come and take support from us or come to us at times of crisis so that we can provide support to both them and their children. We also go out into outreach support in different parts of the community, and we will go to meet women in their homes, the GP surgeries, the hospitals, the library, wherever it is that the woman feels safest for us to be able to come along and meet with her. So our services both in the centres and out in the community. Thanks, Patricia. We have lots of services, and I could spend all day telling you what they are, but the main one that we have is our refuge, the 11-bed refuge in Newry. Community support is where we deliver that out of our resource centres. We have a wellbeing project that was born out of the need of crisis intervention. Women were stuck in the crisis service that we provide with nowhere to go because chronic loneliness and a lack of self-confidence, self-esteem, and the ways in which domestic abuse erodes the sense of self, and there was loss of identity for women, and that needed something beyond crisis. So we went out, sought the funding to be able to create a wellbeing programme that helps women move from crisis onto survival and thriving. We have a small but mighty children and young people's team. We work with the children who are living with the impact of domestic and sexual abuse. We have an IRIS project. We're one of 2 only in Northern Ireland that works with our local GPs, providing an advocate in their surgery for them. So male or female victims of domestic abuse can make a referral to the GP, and that can be referred into IRIS. Our DAS project is the only one of its kind on the island of Ireland, and that's a worker of ours co-located in Craigavon Area Hospital and Daisy Hill Hospital in ED and maternity services, taking referrals directly at the point of crisis. We have a project called Sarah, which is working, again, the only project of its kind in the island of Ireland, working directly in schools with children who have been come through Operation Encompass. We have Employ Me, working with partnership with the SRC and Clanray, looking at helping women get back into employment. We support women through the Promoting Positive Relationships programme, which is where their male partner is going through a change behaviour programme with the probation board, and we provide the support to the female victim, ex-partner or current partner. And we hope to, in ABC in April, launch our one-stop shop here. We've had a one-stop shop in Newry and Moore now since last October, where we have 6 co-located services: the police, housing, solicitors, community advice, ourselves, and the crime prevention. And that's been really successful. We've had 24 women attend that one-stop shop located in the local library. 24 women we did not know before. We haven't had that in ABC. We hope to launch that now in April of this year.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about the services?
No.
We sent along in the pack from Patricia our infographic of basically our stats from 23-24. So you'll see in there the number of referrals that we're receiving in for support. 1,800 referrals in an annual year, and over 1,300 women who engaged in the service, 738 children. We could take questions and break that down for you, but one of the main things I would say, I'm usually the stats person that brings this information to Eileen. What I would say is, before COVID, and if I could parenthesis that with saying that COVID did not create the increase, but it did happen timeline-wise before it, we would have experienced 30 to 40 referrals a month. Since COVID, we are getting 110 referrals a month, brand new referrals in through the door every month, with no increase in staff and team, an ever-shrinking budget, and an ever-growing need. So those numbers sadly continue to grow all of the time. So we just wanted to give you the infographic that tells you a little bit about both our services that we have out in the community and in-house. So if you have any questions on that, we can take them. But the thing I really wanted to point out is the next slide, please, Patricia, thank you, is today, well, I did this slide on the 4th of February. So on the 4th of February this year, we have 4 women in our refuge who are from the ABC area. So 36% of the women who are living in our refuge today are from this area. Women in support today, there are 139 of them. So 72% of the women we are supporting today come from the ABC area. Women and that's the direct crisis support. Women in those other services like counselling, employee, the Wellbeing Project, there's 44 of them. But the total number of women in support today is 187. That's 63% of the women we support live in the council area that you serve. And on a waiting list, while we have over nearly 400 women, 235, so 63% of the women on our waiting list are waiting in the ABC area for crisis intervention or support. And that is not counting our people might say, softer side of the work. That's not the wellbeing, that's the crisis, that's refuge, that's floating support as we call it. And that's the picture today. And you'll see how many children are linked to those women in there. So we didn't go as far as talking about how many children are in support. Can I get the next slide? Thank you. So in terms of the identified need, there's just not enough of us to do the work that's coming at the front door. Yeah. The main thing is we have no refuge accommodation in the whole of the ABC area. When women come phone us for refuge, our only option is a refuge in Uri, and it has 11 beds in it. We turned away 81 women last year from refuge. 81 women who you could account for about 40% of them coming from the ABC area. We never say, no, sorry, we're full. We will work with those women. We will try and get them into a sister organisation. Where that's not possible, we'll work with a housing executive. We'll help them maybe safety plan for returning home. We don't ever just say no, but we do have 81 women we could not accommodate. We need additional support services to address the alarming increase in waiting lists that we have. We need further support beyond crisis intervention, because if we only tackle the crisis and we do not deal with helping the problem become something that is no longer creating a crisis, we're just having a revolving door of victims coming through the door. So we want to, and we are listening to the voices of the women and the children who are in our service and asking them what they need from us. And then we are trying to find the money behind the sofa to be able to make that happen. We need to create additional space for our team to grow and thrive. We have a nice office, a good space in Portadown, but we want to do more. We need more space to be able to do that in. We're looking to create a centre of excellence, and we're trying to raise £3 million to create that centre of excellence that will serve all of the area that we work with. And part of that centre of excellence will really push forward the early intervention and prevention work that we can do with children and young people. That is really where we want to be. We want to be able to do both. We want to be able to support the women who are experiencing the abuse and the children who are experiencing that same at the hands of the places where they should be safest. We actively respond to regional local government planning and strategy, so we want to work with ABC Council on your community planning, on your plans for a safe community for every woman, man and child who lives in ABC. And we want to actively engage and respond to violence against women and girls and other potential funding streams. And we're calling on ABC Council in whatever way is possible to be able to support us to do that work. It's only, Eileen had said earlier, where communities heal, where communities come together, and that is what we want to be part of. We're involved in everything there is going out there that has domestic abuse or violence against women and girls connected to it. The strategy, the EVAG strategy, the Safe Leave. So we're asked for our opinion on it. We're asked to consult on it. We're asked to bring the voices of the women to it. We're asked to give our opinion on it. And yet we aren't funded through any of those streams for doing that. So it's work that we always did. But essentially, what we want to do is we want to say, how can we work together towards the vision you have for your community, but for us, the vision we have for women and children. Is that 10 minutes? Well done. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, ladies. That was really stark, I suppose, the figures that you've given us there. And we know, we're hearing this all the time with the strategy against violence against women and girls. It's really important that we work with you and with your organisation to try and combat that. But I'll open it up for questions. We really appreciate your time coming in this evening. Thank you. Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, ladies. It's totally heartbreaking, the statistics that you have just read out. I sit on the Housing Council for ABC. We had spoke in Lurgan whenever you had the rally, and I did address the Housing Council regarding there is nothing for domestic abuse in the ABC Council. So they did come back with a report, not the report I would have liked or not what I was looking. So there's another meeting tomorrow. I'm going to address it again because some of the things in the report are not what I had requested. They're no benefit to yous or to anyone. So I am going to address this again tomorrow, but it's something that is needed within the ABC Council, without a doubt. Without a doubt, and it's totally heartbreaking. As a mother of one girl and 2 boys, I'd like to think that we would raise them in the way that they're supposed to be raised, that they don't go out, that our daughter wouldn't be involved or it wouldn't happen to her, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what goes on whenever they go into the house and close that door. So I would like to thank you for coming tonight and highlighting this, and I'll do all I can for you. If you want if someone can give you my email address, I would have no problem in keeping in contact with you, honestly. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
This very formal setting. Thanks very much for your very kind words. I do want to emphasise that this is not a working class issue, and this is not people on the brew issue. We have women at the top of their careers needing our services, but we also have perpetrators of those women who are at the top of their careers. So I think that's really important for you to understand, because it's just like what you said, you hope your children won't, but there's no guarantee that they won't get involved, that they won't become a perpetrator or they won't become a victim. I think that's what's really important about what we're trying to do with the Elias Centre, because we own them 2 buildings, we rent everything else. We own the 2 buildings in Newry, and we're trying to get that Centre of Excellence going, because we really, really need to get talking to young boys at a very early age. We need to get talking to young girls at a very early age. We are already in your schools. We're out in the primary schools. We're in the post-primary schools. We deliver helping hands for the primary schools, which is about keeping safe. We don't talk about domestic abuse or women's aid. It's all about how to recognise when the situation isn't safe and who it's safe to tell. And in the post-primary schools, we're doing Heading for Healthy Relationships, and that's all about recognising what a relationship is and how healthy it is or how unhealthy it is. The whole purpose of them is to try and get in as early as possible, but there's so much more work has to be done. We see so many wounded and fragmented and broken children because of the domestic abuse that's happening. It's why we have our SARA project. But there's huge work to be done in that area. But thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Eileen and Helen, for the presentation. It does make for really stark listening. I actually find it quite painful to listen to in terms of the statistics, and the statistics are real, and they are statistics because, as you and I have spoken about before, Eileen, the real people behind these statistics makes it even more real for us. For us to know as members that ABC is the 2nd highest level of violence against women is a really stark statistic for us all to take on board, members. And I think from your presentation, it's the waiting list, I think, is something that I feel extremely uncomfortable with, is, I guess, the need and the demand in our area for your services. Now, it is reassuring to know that you are there and that you are trying to service everyone that you possibly can. And I think you deserve our huge thanks for what you're doing as Women's Aid, because we can see that if you weren't there helping these women, this would be a really isolated place for many females who do face this kind of violence against women. So thank you on behalf of myself, my party, and I'm sure every member in this chamber for what you do. There is an onus on us to work together more, and that Councillor O'Dowd has alluded to that. And given what happened in my own DEA before Christmas in Banbridge and the death of Karen Cummings, which is something that shocked and totally rocked Banbridge to the core, they just didn't see it coming. And I think your comments tonight are very real about your understanding of how this affects everyone in society. And for any of us who attended the vigil that night, they could see the raw feeling that there was, and that was held because of what had happened, and the sense of that things had to change. That came across very, very clearly that night. Thank you for taking the vigil and allowing the people of Banbridge to be able to express that shock and sorrow on the death of Karen. Going forward, I think there is an onus for us all to work together, and I want to hold my hand out as well to say that we are here, and I am here to be able to work with you on this, to try and forward this in whatever way possible. Much change in this area will come from collaboration, and we have a vision of the community that you spoke about, which is exactly the same as your vision, so that women feel safe and that they can go out and do their daily lives free from any kind of violence or threat of violence. And that's what we have to work together to achieve. So again, thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you for everything that you do, and please do reach out to those who can help you try and change this for the better. It is a marathon, it's a long, hard road, and there's no one realises that more than you both, but we will be here to work with you on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Oliver Mutry.
Thank you for your presentation tonight. It was both informative and sadly eye-opening. And you're right when you say this isn't a class issue and it impacts all of our communities. And as a Lurgan representative, along with others, I saw that just a couple of years ago in my own community. Really just want to say, we will support you in any way that we practically can in council. I think all councillors are united around that. And we wish you well in the very difficult work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair, and again, just want to reiterate my thanks and agree with all what has been said thus far. I do have a question, sort of in relation to the presentation, and it seems to be the growing toxicity in social media over the last number of months, and whether you view that as potentially having an impact, a growing negative impact from what I can see, and just kind of abuse in general, particularly directed towards women. And whether that's an issue of concern for yourselves as a group going forward, because it just seems over the past number of months it's just gotten much more worse, and you're seeing a lot more hate online where people, well, young people, are sitting there in their own rooms viewing all that kind of toxic masculinity type culture, and being buoyed up by that and then acting that out in the community because they see it online by various so-called influencers. And it's something that's worried me a lot over recent months. I don't know whether you're seeing that impact on the ground where that's coming through as explanations for conduct or why things have been and happening in scenarios. Just something that I'm concerned about, whether you're seeing the impact of that growing toxic culture in your own work when you're counselling those going through the abusive situations. Thank you.
Era where IT didn't really exist when I was growing up, and it wasn't there. But you're right, it is a very worrying, and I look back in horror, with how that has become a norm now. But Helen would be much more all over that.
It's probably where we see it is with the children and young people's work that we do, and in the schools work that we do, where the responses that we get back are slightly more, are bolder in terms of maybe very aggressive language and challenging. And look, everything should be challenged and everything should be open to conversation, because I think the only way to be able to change someone's mind or influence what they think is to be able to hear what they have to say and make a respectful argument back to it. And plus for us, that mirrors the fact that you can have a disagreement with someone and have a respectful relationship enough to move it forward. But yes, the amount of misogyny, to use that word, that is online is rampant, and we do hear it maybe in the voices of the women talking about their own sons and their own daughters in that world, and the amount of time they spend online, and the fact that such people have influence over young people on such a broad spectrum, and it allows almost to say this is an okay attitude to have. If that person has it and they're really cool, then I'm probably a wee bit old too to be online, but they're really cool, that it's therefore it allows me to be able to behave that way. So we really are looking for the opportunities with things like the Violence Against Women and Girls funding and strategy to be able to work at the prevention end of that, to start getting in with youth groups, getting in with schools, getting in with girls, boys, everybody, and opening the conversation up and saying, is that a respectful way to behave towards another person? How does it make that person feel when those things are said to them? How does it make you feel when you say them? And sort of get into the nitty gritty in a way that speaks to young people, because probably not work I do, but you have a team that would go out and do that. But it's not that women would be saying to us that they're reporting that. Women are getting excessive amounts of abuse through an online platform, but it's usually in private online platforms whereby they're being directly contacted on Facebook or WhatsApp messages or text messages or emails or that kind of thing, as opposed to an open forum. But it all adds to the pyramid that is violence against women and girls, where attitudes and beliefs and behaviours that are open sit at the bottom and they build towards the top end, where we have is the murder of women or the harm done to women and girls on a daily basis. So yes, inevitably it doesn't make things any better, but I do think there's a swell of good people out there trying to make a change to that. So while it's very negative, it's about how do you fight that. And then you have big multi-billion pound companies making money out of pushing that algorithm and making sure everybody sees that. So it's what can we tackle in the classrooms, in the youth groups, in the homes, in the community centres. How can we make a difference there and give people voice to be able to challenge that behaviour and call it out when we see it? You know, that's.
I think we had a conference about a year ago, and we had Jackson Katz over, and we put the invites out to everybody. And his message is really, really important. He talks about bystander approach, and I think because technology can abuse or it can be a really, really good thing. And I know if we say anything and we put out in black and white, it will harm women if we come at it in that way. So we have to be very careful what we say. But what Jackson Katz says in his message, it's about, as a community, everyone in that community steps up and says, we are part of the solution and we won't tolerate. So it's about calling it out in a safe way, because what you don't want people stepping in and then more harm coming from that. So we have to find a safe way that people can be part of the solution. And IT is certainly one of them. But following or commenting or giving any kind of support to people who, I'm just thinking after Karen's murder, and I gave a TV interview, and some of the responses on that were actually quite vicious that come back against me. So not that that's regardless, that we're used to that, but it doesn't help the cause. It doesn't help when people get that angry and that, that harmful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Evans?
Thank you, Chair. I apologise I had to step out there at the start of your presentation, but I did have a wee read through it earlier, and the numbers and the facts and figures are startling to see in Northern Ireland. And I know most people in this chamber are aware that I myself did go through domestic abuse, and it's hard to read those numbers and see how many are still going through things like that. But I don't have a question for you. I just wanted to say that listening to what you had just said there, if you have my full support, my party's full support. It is about targeting young boys whenever when they're at that stage of developing and learning all they need to know about girls, and giving them the confidence to step in and say, stop what you're doing, that's not right. And it's the same goes for older men as well. I think we've got to a point now where a few are scared to step in, and we need to get rid of that. We need them to feel like they have the ability and the power to step forward. And as much as I detest the name that we've used, violence against women and girls, it's abuse against women and girls, because that's where it starts. You know that very well. It doesn't start with being punched around the kitchen. It starts with the small things. It starts with the mind control, and it starts with the minute things that you don't notice, and before you've noticed it, it's too late. And it's very important that we do focus on our young people and men as well. And I believe moving forward, with the money that the council has got as well, sporting groups is a massive area for us to target those young men and try to move forward to give them the confidence to stand up and help protect the women within this borough.
Thank you. I'm just conscious we have some members online. I know you might not be part of the committee, but we're happy to take questions if anyone online wants to ask anything. Just raise your hand. I know we have some people in the chamber as well, but we all seem content with the presentation. Thank you very much. Just through my own work in my day job, I was actually in the Women's Aid in Fermanagh recently, and it's just refreshing that there is so much support out there. But again, also I came out with the just disheartened with the amount of support that is needed. And then I was driving up the street and I saw someone who had been in the media recently for having committed crimes against women, a very high profile case, and I just seen him, and it was just really stark that I come from one room where they're supporting those women or that woman in question, and then seeing him on the street is just really damning. But we see it every day, and we're seeing men or people who commit violence or abuse, as Councillor Evans says, against women that are just, we just don't know it, and it's invisible, and it's just heartbreaking for the women and girls that are affected by it. But really, really appreciate you coming in this evening. Thank you. And as I said, I think I can speak for everybody here that any of us will support you in any way that we can. Thank you.
And just on that point, and while that harm is done to women and girls in the work we do, it impacts the very connections and networks that they have. It impacts their families, their mothers, their fathers, their friends, their sisters, their brothers. It doesn't just stay confined to that family. So when you're helping the person who has been harmed, you are effectively able to help the entire network of that community, which bleeds into their community and their workplaces, and it reduces, number of sick days in work. It has positive impacts for employers. It has positive impacts for our health service, because our hospital worker in the emergency room is helping move women out of ED and into more appropriate supports at a quicker rate, which lets ED get freed up for more. So it touches every element of society. So, but thank you very much for your comment. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, members. So we will move on now, as the ladies just leave the room, to agenda item 4. So we have decision item 4.1 on the consultation schedule. So I'll pass you to Elaine for that.
Good evening, members. Attached is the external consultation schedule for this month. So the usual monthly schedule is attached as Appendix A for members' consideration. Also in the report this month as Appendix 2 is a draft response by our Human Resources Department to the Department of Communities on the gender pay gap. The recommendation is for members to approve both of these. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Darren, look at it coming on this one, is it? No? Sorry, thank you, Elaine. Members are not seeing any lights on, so if we're agreed, can I have a proposer and seconder to agree this? Proposed by Councillor Evans, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Mackle, brilliant. So agenda item 4.2, back to Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. As members will be aware, Council has a whole range of international linkages, ranging from those with a more economic or tourism focus driving benefits for investment or the local economy, and others such as this twinning linkage, which are more community and civic in nature. Banbridge Twinning Association are a local group who organise and oversee an active twinning linkage between Banbridge and Rueil-Toussour in France. They host a delegation every other year and go out to Rueil then on alternate years. Last year marked the 30th anniversary of the linkage, which was hosted in Banbridge. An invitation has been received from Banbridge Twinning Association regarding their exchange visit this May, extending an invitation to Council for councillors or an officer to accompany them to Rueil. If members are minded to accept this invitation, the current costs of flights are approximately £214 per person, and this could be met from an underspend within my department's budget for this year. So members, the recommendation is that consideration is sought on whether Council should participate in the twinning exchange to Rueil this year, and if in agreement, officers would recommend that the offer be extended to the Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, Chair and Vice Chair of this committee in the first instance, and then on out to Banbridge DEM members if needed. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Alderman Baxter.
Thank you. I want to call you Lord Mayor, Chair, sorry. Just in terms of twinning, and I know this isn't a council-led project, this is a private group doing it, because I remember we had twinning with a couple of places when we first started. Whenever RPA came in a few years ago, remember one with Ballinallen, County Mayo, and there was one in Georgia with Lagrange. And whenever the new councils all joined together, we stopped all those as a council with an economic focus. But I know this is different, and it's a community-led twinning arrangement. So, look, I've no issue with it. It's not a huge amount of money, but I would just, in line with other trips that council would be on in terms of, with economic development, with other things, I would just propose maybe we just send the Lord Mayor and the Chair of Committee, as opposed to sending 5 or 6 councillors. I think a couple would probably be enough. So I make that a formal proposal that we just, the chairs afforded the opportunity of the committee and the Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Savage.
Thank you very much. I was going to call her Lord Mayor as well there. The Chair. Look, the ties with Ruaid have been long-standing, and I understand Alderman Baxter's point. My understanding of it is we're going to invite one person over from this report that's going to be offered to the Lord Mayor. We had a very successful visit last year from the guys who came over from France. Their mayor came over, and there's quite a contingent. And I think the last time, I don't think there was any representation from the council the last visit, going back a few years. But if there's an opportunity for one person from the council to go to represent the ABC, I would be happy to propose it. But I think the recommendation is just proposing one person anyway. Is that correct, Chair?
Elaine, would you come in and clarify that point to us first, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, apologies, I haven't worded the recommendation as well as I should there, but yes, the intention was that we would work our way down through the list to see if there was interest from any of the parties. There would be enough underspend within the budget to send up to 2 members this year, but it has been quite a number of years from there's been anyone available to go. Just to answer Councillor Savage's question on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. So we have Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. And just to come in second, Councillor Savage's proposal on this decision item. The Banbridge Twin Association has been running for many years and does some great work in terms of cultural exchange and language workshops within Banbridge. It's very much valued within Banbridge, and it would be good to see a representation from Council, if possible, to go along on their trip, which is long-standing between the 2 areas. So happy to second.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, I'm just reading through it again. Yeah, that's fine. If there's only one, I was actually going to send more there when I read the proposal. Yeah, but happy just with the one. That's we've no issue.
Yeah, there'll not be a whole trevally of us going. That's all right. So we proposer and seconder for Councillor Savage and Councillor Ferguson. If we're all agreed, members. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So item 5.1, the revision of standing orders. So we discussed this last month as well, but I'll pass it to Kate just to go through it again. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The report is taken as read. Members will recall that at the GRS committee in November, members agreed to amend the Council standing orders in respect of provisions on AOB and deputations. The report sets out my proposed amendments to the standing orders, which reflect the new position in respect of these provisions, and members are asked now to approve the proposed amendments to the standing orders as outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Members with no lights on, so I assume we're okay with this item. If we're going to propose and seconder, proposed by Councillor Mackel. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. Thank you. So all agreed, members, we can move on. So agenda item 6, we have another decision item on the licence to occupy with inland waterways. We have Marcus with us this evening.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. As you're probably aware, Council own the Newry to Portadown Canal from where it enters the Ban at the point of Whitecoat to just south of Points Pass. And for a number of years, the Inland Waterways Association have been undertaking some voluntary work there, doing some tasks and some projects. We greatly value volunteers, and we're keen to encourage them. And they have approached us to formalise the agreement so that we can, so they can work, and continue to work, and yet will ensure that council is both indemnified and insurance cover is in place. I should add that they have a separate agreement for the Acton Lake Visitor Centre, which they occupy, and run it as a small museum which is open at weekends and at other times. So Inland Waterways Association had approached us, and we've drawn up a legal agreement entitled Licence to Occupy on Short-Term Basis relating to lands at sections of Newry to the Portadown Canal. So the purpose of the licence is really to make sure that they have appropriate insurance cover, that they indemnify us, and that they give us some notice of any work that's been undertaken, while it also allows them to undertake that work. They've also provided us with a schedule of works, which we agree on a quarterly basis, and they've also provided us with a safe system of work. So the work schedule includes a lot of general maintenance work. It contains also some seasonal work, such as tree maintenance, and this was drawn up before the storm, so that's probably increased quite a bit, and weather protection of existing lock gates. We propose that any work that is likely to cost council or incur liability will have to be separately brought back to council for approval, and they have two separate projects on that work schedule, including the provision of some canoe steps and also the wanting to install some lock gates. We would ask that members agree to adopt the licence to occupy agreed with Inland Waterways Association of Ireland, the Northern Ireland branch. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. We have a number of speakers here, so I'll bring in Councillor Evans first.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose this. It's great to see it coming forward. It's took a very long time to get this far, and I know the group have been working eagerly in the background to try and achieve this. I've seen a few of the things that they've done throughout the years, and they've been doing fantastic work, and it's great to see people within the community coming together to work to keep such a beautiful spot within ABC clear and for people to use, and even to see the gates and things being built back up again, and to see the waterways being used. I've seen them go up and down weird little circle things, but it's good to see, and I'm happy to propose. I just have to ask, it's for 12 months. I just hope that whenever it comes to renewal, it's not going to take as long as it did the last time to come through.
Well, now that we have it in place, I think it and the schedule of work should roll over fairly easily.
Thank you, Marcus. Alderman Mitry.
Thank you, Chair. I would be very keen to second this proposal. For many years I've seen the work that the Inland Waterways Association have done along the canal, particularly at Scarva there. And to be quite honest, they're doing a level of work out there that would never be done by ourselves or anyone else. So I would like to encourage them in what they're doing and work with them. And I welcome this, and I hope that it won't be too long until we have an agreement like this set up with the Friends of Shankle Graveyard in Lurgan as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mitry. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's absolutely great to see this coming before us here this evening. It's been a long time coming. Just want to put all our thanks on record for those officers, and there's multiple officers involved in getting it to this stage to allow its presentation, and those involved from Inland Waterways for everything they've done and the exciting work that they hope to do as part of this agreement. All of our lagging or navigational canals nowadays maybe have more of a leisure focus because they're nice to go along, well, cycling, walking and things like that. But it's important to note that they have a deep heritage aspect as well that the Inland Waterways groups hope to preserve, whilst the one for Newry or even like the one near me in the Lagan, it's very important. A lot of settlements grew up along them because of the canals. It wouldn't be maybe as strong a borough as we are now if we didn't have something like these assets in our past helping to facilitate that economic growth in those times. So it's great to see it, and wish them the best of luck in their endeavours going forward, Chair. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Lavery. Councillor McLennan.
Yes, Chair, thank you for letting me in, and thank you to Marcus and all of the officers and everyone involved for bringing this forward. It's very welcome. I've absolutely no issue, and I think it's very positive that there are people within the community that are so enthusiastic. Just one small question that I would have, Marcus, when it talks about the licence allowing for 5 days' notice for all activities, I'm assuming there's been a bit of discussion around that before that time frame was put in, and I suppose it's just asking for assurance that we're all content and relaxed that it is appropriate in terms of the 5 days. Now, having said that, I'm not wanting to put some. I'm not wanting to put some bureaucratic mechanism in terms of getting it approved, but just are we content and relaxed that the 5 days is appropriate? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, officers have considered this, and really we want them to give us some notice so there's no detriment to the users of the canal, and also that any work that our grounds maintenance or other officers are doing in the canal is coordinated with anything that they happen to be undertaking.
Thank you, Marcus and Councillor McLennan. Councillor McElrath.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Marcus, for the report. Listen, just want to echo all the comments made. Inland Waterways doing a fantastic job on a lot of sections of the canal there. The one thing probably just to caution is that I hope, and I'm sure it won't be, an excuse to, as it were, divert some of the work that maybe we as a council would be responsible for. I don't think that will happen. I hope it won't happen, but it's just one to be conscious of. They're not picking up some of our tasks. And I suppose on the broader point, Chair, just when we talk about the towpath and with a lot of our senior team in the room tonight, it's not to lose sight of funding opportunities for the towpath as one of the largest and longest outdoor spaces that we have that's used by hundreds of people every day. And as we invest in our parks, that we don't forget about the Portadown to Gambles Bridge towpath. And there are sections of it that obviously could do with refurb, and there's lots more we could be doing along that route. So it's just to not lose sight of that as well, Chair. So just a reminder to our officers as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I'm sure Marcus has that all written down. Thank you. Councillor Savage.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Marcus, thank you very much for your report. As a few members have alluded to, this has been a long time coming. I was just looking back there, I've had dealings with some of the guys from the Inland Waterways, Tom, Tanya and Paul, and some of the guys are over tonight, so just like to pay a tribute to them for the work they're doing. This is a good first step. I know that they have some plans going forward in the future, and they're very exciting for what they're intending to do, so hopefully the council will work with them in a positive fashion to get these plans off the ground. So it's a good start, so thank you very much.
Great. Well, I think that's a good endorsement of this item, members. So we have a proposer and seconder, so if we're all agreed? Yeah, great. So members, we can move on to agenda item 7.1, so access to justice in relation to the Aarhus Convention. So I'll pass you to Elizabeth for this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This is an item for decision where the Department of Justice has issued a call for evidence regarding access to justice in relation to the Aarhus Convention. All councils in Northern Ireland have been notified of the call for evidence. This is Northern Ireland legislation that really covers the protective costs order that was introduced as a result of the Aarhus Convention. The Convention has been ratified into Northern Ireland law and is therefore enforceable in our courts. The purpose of the call for evidence is to seek views from those with an interest in the provisions of the Aarhus Convention regarding legal challenges in relation to environmental matters. A copy of the call is attached in the appendix, and also a draft response is contained in Appendix 2. It is just worthy of note and to bring to members' attention a couple of things. We have one ongoing case where a PCO or protective cost order under the Aarhus Convention was applied for. It was not contested by the Council. The court made the PCO in the context of a planning judicial review, so it's really to set some context to members of where these apply. And this is the only Aarhus claim that ABC Council has been involved in. We do feel that the capping avoids prohibitive expense to any applicant. The second point that I want to bring to members' attention in the response is that it's Council's view that no private nuisance claim should benefit from the cost protection orders under the Aarhus Convention. It's considered that courts should not be burdened with legal challenges between private parties with only a tenuous link to the environment. So members, this evening it is recommended that you approve the draft response to the Department of Justice call for evidence, access to justice in relation to the Aarhus Convention, and the response has been prepared by our legal colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Members with no lights on, so I assume we've no questions. Are we content with this decision item? I can have a proposer and seconder if so. Proposed by Councillor Lavery, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Duffy. Okay, members, great. All agreed. So we have no correspondence this evening, so can I have a proposer and seconder to go into committee for consideration of confidential items business? Proposed by Councillor Mackel, thank you, and seconded by Alderman Mitry. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential section of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT, please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed. Thank you. So can I have a proposer and seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Proposed by Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Hare. Thank you. And members, no other business. So good evening and thank you very much.